Sound Therapy Center, Janet Eileen Mitchell, right out at Callaway and Brimhall. They're here in Bakersfield. People raving about the health benefits they're experiencing from this gentle therapy. The website at bakersfieldcolonics.com. Our great friends at Cruise Through Car Wash, 7 locations here in Bakersfield. Just 5 minutes in and you're out with a beautiful car wash.
We'd like to thank our friends over at Kern Construction and Electric Incorporated. Robert Miller, the longtime resident here, he specializes in the remodeling of homes and businesses. He can be contacted at 661-322-5554. Chuck and Wendy Noss, owners of Nature's Food Market and Juice Bar, for delicious, healthy food, fresh juices and smoothies, and the best advice about your good health. Visit them at 2008th Street, right here in Bakersfield, across from the Fox Theater. Call to place an order at 661-327-4430 and like them on Facebook.
Dr. Vinod Kumar and his associates at the Vascular and Leg Center at 5020 Commerce Drive here in Bakersfield. Dr. Kumar has a passion and a new treatment to prevent amputations caused by diabetes. Go to his website at thevascularandlegcenter.com for information and an appointment.
Thank you to all of our sponsors for continuing to support Open Up.
You bet. Many
Yes,
thanks.
thank you. And welcome back. I'm Tina Miller.
Don,
this is Open Up.
You bet. Don Clark, your favorite pair on the air, and we're here with Bruce Pelkey, who had the interesting good fortune to come and go many times to the old Soviet Union. Bruce, let's talk briefly about current events. I mean, Russia and America very much back in the news, and over Syria and things like that. Your insights.
Well, it's interesting to me watching Vladimir Putin, because when I was in the Soviet Union and later Russia, came across many former KGB operative agents, officers, that kind of thing. And I think the overall impression that I have that most Westerners don't realize is how very sharp and knowledgeable so many of the Soviet trained KGB agents, other people in the government. They are really very clever, very sharp, on the ball. I don't know whether you saw the interview with Charlie Rose that was on 60 Minutes, and then
Saw that, yes.
Yes, it was actually a 2-hour interview, and Charlie Rose is a great interviewer, but Putin had him bested several times on questions.
Very sharp guy.
Very
No
sharp
question.
guy. And unfortunately, I think that he has seen the opportunity to move forward, especially in the Middle East, in areas where our government has not necessarily taken a very strong position or place, and he's going to capitalize or monopolize on that as much as he can.
It's been said that Americans play checkers, Russians play chess, and they play it brilliantly in the sense that they're always thinking 3, 4, 5, 6 moves ahead, even a generation ahead of us.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, completely. Yeah, I really do. Because, and I think that's a great analogy, because as Americans, we are more instant gratification, if you will. You know, we want a car, a house, or whatever. We'll go into debt. We'll charge things on our credit card, whatever. Most of the people that I have found even in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, they're willing to wait. And as you say, they may even wait generations to get what they're looking for.
Very interesting.
Wow.
Strategic
And they plan ahead strategically, and then when the moment is right, just as in chess, when it's time to checkmate, they'll move and checkmate. Yeah.
So you really enjoyed your time over there. Are you looking to go back anytime soon? Is that a...
Yeah, I would love to go back. Yeah, I really did.
Well, while you were there, you were there with the purpose of teaching. What exactly did you teach, and how was your teaching received?
Well, actually, I started out speaking in various gatherings. The first group that I spoke to was, I found out later, some of the top officials of the Soviet government, the Soviet educational system, etc. And it's kind of interesting because one of my first lectures was on the rule of law, how we should obey the laws, the rule of contracts, those kinds of things. I found out that they had published my speech in Russian and handed it out as a booklet. When I was listening to Putin's speech or interview the other night with Charlie Rose, it was almost like he was quoting from my speech some of the things that he said about the rule of law and obeying the rule of law and that kind of thing.
That struck me too as I listened to that. I was struck when he said something about if we did that, that would be illegal. And he said, and I would not do anything illegal because I was with the KGB.
Right.
And you think about the KGB, that's what they do is illegal stuff, clandestine stuff. How did that strike you as you listened to that part of the interview?
Yeah, I found that amusing because, again, the Russian people are really, Putin is more of a Soviet than he is a Russian. I mean, he's both, but there's really a different mindset between the two, and that's hard for us to grasp. I guess the best example would be if I'm from, let's say, Oklahoma, I would identify myself as being an Okie. At the same time, I identify myself as being a U.S. or an American citizen, but they're a little different as far as the attitude, et cetera.
What was the first year you started going there?
1991.
Okay, all right.
And how do you explain again? You said he is more of a
Soviet.
Oh, Soviet than he is Russian.
Right.
Oh.
That means more of an outlook of an empire than of one nation.
Exactly, yes. The whole concept of the Soviet Union was to bring all these disparate countries and regions and republics together under one government. And that's the Soviet mentality. And personally, I think that's what he's trying to recreate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Bruce, you're saying that you're able to, analyze, if you will, a Russian as to how they think or this.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. It's obviously difficult when somebody is of a different mindset as far as the way they were raised, their educational system, et cetera. One of my students, before I went on my first trip to the Soviet Union, was a retired, I think it was an Army major. He'd been on the staff of General Schwarzkopf and came in to me and said, "Can I give you some advice about the Soviets?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "You have to remember that they look like us, Americans, but they don't think like us."
Yeah, that's right. Bruce, you went there to help stimulate the economy, but I've heard it said, there was a point where the Russian mob preyed on the economy, and now they are the economy. I mean, they've just taken over the economy. And so how do you be an honest business person and launch an honest enterprise in a system where it's all mob controlled?
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. I met a young couple in one of my early trips to Moscow. She was an American, he's a Russian. They had a very successful business. They called me from Moscow asking for advice. I said, what's going on? If they were honest and paid all of their taxes, they would have had to pay 130% of their income to various government and authorities. So they said, what do? We want to be honest. We want to serve the Lord in our giving and our business, but we can't pay 130% of what we make.
And your advice? Come to America.
They ended up coming to America.
They did.
Oh, really?
Right.
And the other part of Russia that I've read is that it was just one vast money laundering machine. That the Soviet Union laundered more. They were making more money laundering money than drug money or prostitution money or any other form of vice, just by laundering other people's criminal money. Did you run into any of that?
I didn't, but I did have a lot of contacts with the Russian mafia in various scenarios.
Were they friendly?
Very friendly. Yeah, they really wanted to do business with the West because they wanted to essentially move some of their operations into America or Western Europe.
And they've done that, have they not?
And they have. Yeah, they have.
Wow.
Oh, okay. We've got an info slide for him. I was about to ask if he has another story to tell.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Bruce Pelkey. To contact Bruce, telephone 661-376-0904 or Pacific Consultants Ltd @gmail.com.
Right.
Well, what a background you've had, Bruce, and what insights you've brought with you. So,
Yes.
got to have you back.
I enjoy it very much. I thank you for the opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce. And John, upcoming, we have an amazing story. Victor Hernandez.
Coming out of darkness.
Coming out of darkness. Excellent, Don. And we have him right here in the studio. So when we come back.